Wow, this has been a crazy year, eh? And it seems to me more people are into DJing than ever before, as lockdown has given many people the opportunity to learn a new skill. And from what I can see, the rise of bedroom bangers in 2020 has exploded big time. And this year personally, right, I actually went from 0 to 37,000 subscribers, and my online course, right, which honestly I worked without seeing anything on it, right, for about 4 years. This year it's reached international success on a huge scale, and as a result, I've met so many cool people. So massive thank you for my students. Now, I couldn't have done it without you, and it honestly warms my heart that people are open to my style of teaching and getting so much from my content. Now, just on the YouTube channel quickly, the funny thing is, I feel I do have two main types of followers, and I believe many of you actually probably fit into both of these categories. So the first, people here for the tips, and secondly, people here for the practical advice that I like to give, right? So, but anyway, I know, right? See, I do like the mindset behind DJing. Well, for that matter, anything that actually involves creating, and I actually believe come 2021, if you want to succeed as a DJ, it's gonna take more than skill. Like, you're gonna have to not only need to know how to play the game, but also how to interpret your personal successes and failures and come out on top no matter what happens, right? So anyway, if that sounds like something you're interested in, then keep watching, as in this video, I share some hard truths about why so many people fail and how you personally can make 2021 your best year yet. So okay, first and foremost, never underestimate the power of setting goals or even intentions. Now, many people are like, what the fuck, this is a DJ channel, not like personal help, but I think they kind of go hand in hand, okay? And I know I've said this before, but I heard this quote once: life without goals is like putting together a jigsaw puzzle without the box top. And if you have no direction to head in, then you're merely going through life reacting to what you see and experience. And I'll be honest, there's just too much shit going on in the world right now, and if you're just reacting the shit that you see day to day, that could easily get pretty depressing. So fuck that, man. Get a vision that excites you and start moving towards it. See, the very first step is always, right, gaining clarity around what you want. So perhaps you just love music and you want a creative outlet, or perhaps maybe you just want to learn a new skill, or perhaps, right, you're already DJing, okay, and you just want to get some live experience this year. Or perhaps, right, this is heaps common for my students, they want to learn to DJ secretly, and then they just want to jump behind the decks at maybe their wedding or their next social event and show off their world-class DJ skills. Now, either way, you want to focus on something that inspires you and gets you up early in the night and keeps you up late at night. Now, for me personally, right, I was into the club scene big time as a kid, going out every weekend, clubbing and stuff. And I had this idea all of a sudden. I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own club event. And that event, right, it took off in a big way, and I ended up becoming a full-time event promoter and DJing and running weekly events for 17 years all around Australia. And for me, I always loved the idea that I could use my parties as a vehicle to connect like-minded people. And admittedly, I got hooked, right, on the rush that comes with playing to packed rooms and the energy that comes with that. And put it this way, right, when you're in sync and playing, right, with your audience, and you're playing all the right tracks at the right time, there is something almost spiritual about it. It's so amazing, right? And it's also kind of hard to explain, but there's this magic that comes with playing live and creating and contributing to the atmospheres in a room. It can be really addictive, right? Like, it just makes you feel really alive. But here's the thing on your side, right? And the flip side to that is, let's say you haven't played live yet, okay? And the idea of playing live sounds really daunting to you. Then my personal advice is, you must do it, okay? Personally, I used to get nervous before every single show, and putting yourself in a position that is uncomfortable or even challenging is the only way to grow. And the feeling of overcoming challenges and growing is going to help build your self-esteem and confidence in a big way. And this then spreads out into every area of your life, okay? So I'm going on the self-help thing a little bit, but anyway, I like this stuff, I do. So here's the thing, making progress or achieving goals, no matter how small, can actually be really empowering, especially when you may set yourself a goal, let's say to play live. But in truth, right, let's say you're shitting yourself, okay? Like you're really scared, okay? But then what happens is, and I see this all the time, the nerves usually they make you more focused, and most likely then you're going to perform this killer set, okay? And because there's adrenaline involved and you have overcome a challenge, you honestly get hooked. And that's the beauty of DJing. It's all about creating. And if you're creating, being it music, art, whatever, then I find you honestly become happier. And I believe you tune into what we're actually here for, and that is to create, care, and share, right? I just made that up then, right? But it sounds pretty good. Create, care, share. Anyway, words to live by. Just winging it with you guys. But anyway, so once you have some goals, the second thing is to go easy on yourself. And if you find yourself, let's say, you're thinking, fuck, I need to practice more. Why aren't I practicing more? And let's say you're not practicing enough, then instead of hopping into this cycle of self-shaming, okay, and self-doubt and regret, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, F that, man. Just honestly, let's just commit to taking little steps or even raising your standards. See, one of the biggest issues I'm hearing from new DJs is they have this idea to learn to DJ, okay? And it hits them so hard, and they get this motivation, they just know it, right? But they just can't keep it up, meaning they had the idea, they felt really passionate about it, right, for a period of time. But then life honestly caught up with them and they fell back into their old habits and old way of doing things, like their old routines. See, what you have to be careful of is, right, we are creatures of habit, right? So if you're used to going to work, then honestly you've associated relaxing with coming home, watching TV, having a couple of beers, and you've associated enough pleasure to that. And you've done it enough times, then that becomes your automated way of thinking. And to break out of that, at least at first, it can honestly be really difficult, as it takes discipline, which in the short term, it doesn't sound like fun. So people put it off, and then they give themselves like a really hard time for putting it off. And it turns into this negative spiraling cycle. They had this idea, they're not staying true to that idea, and then it just becomes worse and worse. So they say, okay, if you want to create new habits, it's just a matter of reinforcing certain behaviors over and over until they become habit. And then before you know it, instead of reaching for the remote control, you reach for the decks, and then you feel better about yourself as you're making progress. And from there, your confidence builds in every area of your life, honestly, just by making progress, working towards, because you had that idea in the first place, See, the way I see it is, right, and I live by this, it's the ideas that excite you that you have to listen to. So whenever I get an idea that I feel like it inspires me, I just all of a sudden it comes as a flash, and I get really pumped about it, right? I feel it's kind of like the universe in a way saying you have to do this. Now, sure, your perseverance is going to get tested at some point. And I'll be honest, right, let's use my course or even building my YouTube channel as an example. About 4 years ago, I had this idea to take my course online. And the idea, when it first hit, it hit me really hard, so hard that I knew I had to do it. But I'll be honest, the road to get to even where I am now, right, it was so much harder, longer, and bigger than I ever expected. And there was honestly many moments, right, where I wondered if it was worth it. And there were also so many moments where I really doubted myself, and I honestly gave up heaps of times, right? But one thing that kept me going was, okay, and that is this metaphor I actually use when teaching people how to beat match. And that is, right, I found when people, let's say they're not sure which way to turn the jog wheel to line up the beats. And let's say they go one way, and then all of a sudden, let's say it's sounding bad, so they go the other way. And as it gets closer, they always get to a point where they're not sure, they're not sure where they are. And the funny thing is, that point where they're unsure is almost really right before they're going to get it. So let's say they've gone one way, it sounds bad, they go the other way, and I say, if you're not sure, one more. And usually that's where it is. And what I mean by this is the doubts usually come right before a breakthrough. So whenever I have doubts, I take it as a sign that I'm almost there. And instead of focusing on everything I wasn't doing or needing to do, I focus on what I am doing and have done and what I want, and I keep moving in the direction of my goal. So my advice, if you're not sure, you're almost there. You've got to keep it up. But let's say for you and your goals, right? Let's say then, okay, your goals may mean learning to DJ, you get that idea, or perhaps maybe to make your first mixtape, or this year maybe to perform on your first live stream. But all I'm saying is, if you had the idea and honestly at the conception of that idea, when it hit you right, you felt excitement for it, then honestly you have to go for it. Now, however, just quickly, right, for the procrastinators out there, can I make one suggestion, and that is just commit to doing something every day for 40 days. Now, in the spiritual world, it's called a sadhana, okay? Now, you don't have to do much, okay? All I'm saying is maybe even 5 minutes per day, but it's about taking that first step every single day for 40 consecutive days. And if you miss a day, you have to start all over again, meaning you commit to doing something that you want to do, like you want to change as a habit, for 40 days in a row. And that means, let's say you miss this 36th day, you've done 36 days, well then you have to start again. You have to do 40 consecutive days. Now, I've done heaps of these in my life, and it's really funny, they condition you big time. And another funny thing is, right, even if you say, okay, I'm just gonna do 5 minutes today, okay? Maybe it could even be just researching music or prepping a playlist using your DJ software and not even hopping on the decks. But the cool thing is, once you start, you get it on a roll, and often 5 minutes could become an hour, and you've built like a full playlist and done, like quite simply, something you may have been putting off for years. And worse yet, here you are giving yourself a hard time about not doing it, which leads to this cycle of regret. So fuck that, right? See, the beauty of this 5 minute commitment is sometimes the idea for you of doing 2 hours, it's overwhelming. So you think, okay, yeah, I want to do my TV, I want to watch my TV, I want to relax, but I'll just do this 5 minute commitment. So by just committing to 5 minutes every day, or if you've got any of my courses, right, perhaps, you could think, okay, just one lesson a day, right? Then by just taking that first little step, you start feeling better about yourself. And instead of giving yourself a hard time saying, oh, I had this idea, I felt the power of it, but I just can't get myself to take action, you'll be like, you know what? I just do a little bit each day, man. And you start, that grows, and all of a sudden your new habits change. So raise your standards. And when you start saying shit like, oh, I've just always been really bad at managing my time, stop there, man, and say, when did you decide to limit yourself and think that way about yourself, man? It's too like BS, man. Now, our lives are honestly just a reflection of what we think about most. So break the cycle, raise your standards this year and commit to taking action. And by doing so, in no time at all, through repeating the new behaviors you wish to take on, it's going to become easier and easier. And then honestly, watch the magic that comes with that. Now, I read this quote once, right? And that is, an ounce of discipline equals multiple rewards. So like in that Cobra Kai movie, stop being a pussy, man. You've got this. I like that Cobra Kai show. Anyway, so thirdly, and I think this one is huge, and that is doing your best this year, or 2021, to support others and be part of a DJ community, be it live events or even live streaming events. See, I honestly have students of all ages, but some of the older students have expressed concern about playing live in clubs as they worry about their age. Now, here's the facts, Once you have your foot in the door, you've established relationships with the right people, honestly, being a good DJ is the most important thing. And then you can honestly build your fan bases inside the venues that you play. But here's the thing, right? The fact is, to get your foot in the door in the first place is usually going to come down to what you can do for the venue or the promoters running the party to get your foot in the door, right? So that may mean you need to support their events and get to know the people running the parties. And when you play, you make a big party out of it yourself. You bring all your friends, and the more support that you can bring to the venues, the more they're going to support you. And trust me, right? Post-COVID, the venues are going to need all the support they can get. And I truly believe there's going to be a rise of opportunities for new DJs that are willing to be active at events, and they come from a position of what they can do for the venue, as opposed to just contacting the venues and being like, what can I get from you? It's so transparent. No one wants to be like, promoters don't want to be a part of that. Okay, but here's the thing. The older DJs say, I don't have the fan base. All my friends are over clubbing and I doubt I'll be able to get many people there. Now, I wish at first, okay, to get your foot in the door, it wasn't all about numbers. And honestly, it's not. Talent has to weigh in. But again, so does support and community. But perhaps I can suggest another way in for you guys, and that is perhaps you could find ways to help people younger than you. And this means perhaps even through like some of your own events, and let's say you're running a party, you could book some of the younger DJs, or maybe this year you could start by even hosting some like live streaming events and putting other people on the events with you. And by supporting others and finding ways to give back, not only do you help the community and culture around DJing by creating opportunities, but in turn, this could also give you a vehicle to build your own fan base as you become, I guess, a person of influence. See, put it this way, right? I have this ex-student in Sydney, taught her years ago, right? And she helps me run the events in Sydney, and she helps me give feedback on student mixes in Sydney. And since being involved with that, right, her clout in the local scene, it helped her, I'd say, significantly. And more people started becoming aware of her, and her influence and the opportunities in the scene expanded considerably. And pre-COVID, right, she was holding down residencies as some of the biggest venues in Sydney. Now, sure, she was mega talented, organized, and she knew how the music industry works, right? And I guess partly due to my course, I'm sure, but through helping others, it did honestly put her on the tip of everyone's tongue, and it expanded her fan base, which in turn meant there were more people there for her at the events that she played. And this then meant when she played, there was always a really good atmosphere. And from there it really took off, because for her it was not just so much about building herself, but it was helping and inspiring the people around her. So perhaps in 2021, do for others as you would have them do for you. Now, it may mean liking their posts. It may mean leaving positive comments, It may mean posting and sharing promoters' event art, even when you're not actually playing, right, on the lineups. And mainly, once COVID settles, I guess getting down to your local events and parties and supporting the venues and the DJs without always expecting anything in return. Now, it may even mean running your own events and maybe even live streams and creating opportunities for others. Now, either way, you have to do what excites you, And if you have ideas that excite you, you know you're on the right path, and hopefully I'm putting some ideas in your head now. And then if they excite you, you have to take that as a sign. You have to follow your heart and take action. Now, this leads into possibly the most important ingredient of all, and that is keeping a positive focus no matter what happens. Now, in many ways, right, this is the most important part, and something I'm also really passionate about. And quite often people comment to me, they say, how can I be happy all the time? And the truth is, right, sure, things give me the shits from time to time, but I'm pretty good at not dwelling on those things, as I truly believe what we experience in life will come down to what we think about most. So for instance, let's say you have two people that have been offered a show on a boat party and both play under the exact same conditions. Yet one person, I experience this, I've seen this heaps of times, and you got one person that interprets the event as really unorganized. They didn't get paid, the promoter didn't spend any time with them, and they just basically complained a lot about the experience and just how bad it was. Whilst the other person had the exact same experience, the exact same things happened, but they interpreted it in a completely different way, saying, man, they're just stoked to be on the lineup, and how great the vibe was and how good it was just being able to play. And they even commented on, just how much fun they had. And yeah, sure, they may mention the promoter was busy most of the time, but he maybe seemed like a cool guy or a girl, and they sympathized with that promoter's position and understood that, they had a lot on their plate, etc., etc. Now, out of those two people, who do you think people want to work with? And I've been with that promoter and I can see it. And you want to work with the people that are kind of bringing a good vibe to it, not the people that are turning up like they're entitled to something. Now, the truth is, right, life always throws shit at you, right, that you can easily get upset about. But the fact is, the more you dwell on those things, the more like it just lowers your vibration. And before you know it, you're reflecting all the bullshit that happens because that's what you're focusing on. And so when something upsetting happens to me or someone pisses me off, right, I ask myself, what's more important? Holding a grudge, right, which affects me and limits my ability to succeed, right, as it keeps me in this like, complaining mindset, or simply choose to see it in a different light and move my focus back onto what's going right and what I appreciate. So I guess it's kind of like that Tim Burton movie, Big Fish, okay? In that movie, he just chose to see things and interpret things in this magical and grateful way. And he lived this extraordinary life. And sure, it's exaggerated, but he was truly happy. He had this great life. Now, I know not everyone's into manifesting, but I read this somewhere and it's really stuck. And that is, manifesting isn't about getting, okay? It's about becoming. But I even think it's more than that. I think it's about being, right? And as Gandhi said, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. So perhaps once you know what you want, think about who you would have to become to achieve that, and then start recognizing those qualities within you already, because what you recognize within you already is going to reflect back at you many times over. And this means instead of trying to achieve or get your goals can come through you as an expression of who you are. Okay, well, I'll go on a bit of a tangent here. So this year, right, decide, okay, what do you want? Commit to making it a reality. And when life throws you curveballs and you have doubts, take that as a sign that you're close and try to keep your focus on what's going right and recognize the progress you're making, no matter how small. And for those of you wanting to get live experience like this year, like in 2021, please keep in mind, right, the venues. Like, I know a lot of the promoters, the people running events, and I'll be honest, they're doing it like tougher than most people. And many venues, right, and DJs, they're not working or they're shut down. So when COVID settles, try to do what you can to support the scene and even contribute to the scene without expecting anything in return. And if you can bring a good energy to the events that you want to be part of, then that's enough. And remember, manifesting isn't about getting, it's about becoming. So don't reach for your goals, just know what you want and know that if it wasn't, if it wasn't possible for you to achieve it, you couldn't have even conceived the idea in the first place. The fact that you could conceive it means you can receive it as long as you believe it. Oh my God, where's this guy get this stuff? So anyway, right. So what do you believe is possible this year? I know I laugh at myself, but still, I know. And I know it all gets pretty deep and perhaps not what you're expecting. Okay, people have probably thought, oh, okay, 4 tips, what's that mean? Like, get some gear, get some lessons, do a live stream. And yes, right, sure, all that's a given, but many of you know me by now, and the truth is where attention goes, energy flows. So if you don't feel excited about anything, and let's say you're in a really bad place, maybe just try new things. And when you get a vehicle for your creativity and you have something to be excited about, right, you can honestly turn your whole life around. And I honestly think music and even DJing, well, for me, this is my own experience, it's probably one of the best vehicles I've ever found for achieving that, like creativity. And it's really been such a huge help for me. Anyway, Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year. I'll be here for you every step of the way in 2021. So let's make this year truly epic. This year's been great too. And, no words can explain my appreciation. And thanks for this video too. I know it's a bit left of center. And anyway, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you.